Night City can be a pretty big place, and getting from point A to point B can be pretty tedious without a reliable vehicle. Now there are many vehicles in Cyberpunk to choose from, so I thought it would be interesting to make a top 10 list of my top 10 favorite vehicles in Cyberpunk 2077. Now this list will include all vehicles from motorcycles to four-wheeled vehicles, free unlockables, and paid vehicles as well. Some vehicles on this list may actually surprise you, but this is just my personal ranking of vehicles, so feel free to let me know which vehicles are your favorites and why down in the comments. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and rank the top 10 vehicles in Cyberpunk 2077. Of course, it's not a top 10 vehicles in Cyberpunk list without Jackie's signature bike. You know, the one that he owned for less than 24 hours. This vehicle isn't anything special, but you get it for free after finishing the heist in Act 1, and it gets you where you need to go. Plus, it belonged to your now dead friend Jackie, so if you actually like the bozo, it has great sentimental value. And even if you don't care for Jackie at all, and think he's a total buffoon that got what was coming to him, the bike still looks pretty cool. Besides, a motorcycle is like the best way to get around Night City. The next vehicle has nothing to do with practicality or sentimentality. In fact, it has everything to do with its humorous nature. The Make It Gay Mai is a very tiny little clown car, but let's just lay it out straight. It's an early 2000s smart car. Before all the Teslas and Priuses, every single hipster had their own tiny smart car. For those that are unaware, about 12 to 15 years ago, these cars were a giant meme, mainly because of how goofy it looks. And the fact that it was branded as a smart car implied that every other vehicle was unintelligent. Plus, the car's like $12,000. Anyone who owns a $12,000 car doesn't have the right to look down at other people. Regardless, you have to buy the Mai, but it is actually fairly cheap. This vehicle is slow and has terrible handling, so the main reason it's even on this list is because of its humor. Next is an iconic vehicle. The Quadra Turbo R VTEC is in fact the poster car of the franchise. It's the car you see with V on all of the posters, covers, and other forms of official art. It's the same car that was added into Forza Horizon as part of a promotion for Cyberpunk. You get this vehicle by completing the Haywood gig called Life's Work. You'll have to steal a car and deliver it to a guy named Jake. A few days after the gig, you'll receive a text and a new side quest called Sex on Wheels. All you have to do is go to the location and pick up the vehicle. Although it's not anything special, it does go pretty fast and get you where you need to go. Plus, it just looks pretty cool. However, this thing cannot make a left turn to save its life. And since everyone loves free stuff, the next vehicle is not only completely free, it's also very well hidden. The Nazare Itamade is the reward for completing a hidden side quest, but you can actually skip the entire side quest and go straight to the location of the bike and enter the code 0214. You'll be able to pick up the bike completely for free, and you don't even have to do the quest. You can still do the side quest if you want to, but I don't see any reason why you would. Picking up this bike is always one of the first things I do. It's free, it's reliable, it looks cool, and you can get it before you obtain Jackie's bike, especially if you really don't want to go to Jackie's funeral for the 18th time, or if the quest just never ends up starting because it can be a little buggy sometimes. Worst case scenario, you'll have a backup bike for when you inevitably crash your other motorcycle into the ocean. And don't lie, I know it happens to all of us, but if your goal is to get from point A to point B at a very fast rate and without the ability to be ejected off your vehicle or lose control when you make a sharp turn, then you'll want to get a Rayfield Caliburn. But not just any Rayfield Caliburn, a free Rayfield Caliburn. This is the Rayfield Caliburn Mercmobile. You can get this vehicle after finishing the main story missions involving Pan Am and getting your street cred to level 40. This used to be a side quest that spawns on the map, but ever since the 2.0 update, I've never seen the quest icon actually appear, so it seems it's now just a hidden quest. But not to worry, once you meet the requirements for it, you can simply go to the location and you'll come across a blue container that will have a Rayfield in it. This is clearly a Batman Easter egg, but the car is actually really cool. It's extremely fast and has amazing handling. It makes Claire's races extremely easy, which will be good to know for a little bit later. Now this next vehicle is not free like the others. In fact, it can be quite expensive without any of the discounts. The Porsche 911 Samurai Edition belongs to Johnny Silverman, a Johnny Silverhand fanboy, the impulsive and obsessive type of fan. I mean, this guy discovered us cracks and immediately decided to switch up his style, sell his car, and become an Uscrakian. Regardless, when you buy the car, El Capitan says it has been stolen, and you will begin a side quest to get the car back, where you meet a now deceased Johnny Silverman, along with the location of the car. Obtaining the car may not seem ideal. You have to buy it with your hard-earned eddies and then go fight for the car back all by yourself, but once it is all said and done, the car is actually really cool. It looks way better than Johnny's real Porsche 911, and it may just be a placebo, but I think it handles much better than the original too. This is mainly a late game car for me, as I usually spend all of my eddies on better cyberware, joy toys, and apartment buildings. One of the better base vehicle models in Cyberpunk is the Type 66. There are many variants to the Type 66 cars, but there are only two that really matter. The first of which is the Type 66 Hoon. As the name implies, this is a Hoonigan variant of the car. This is also a reference to Ken Block, who apparently is some kind of drift car professional, but with that being said, this car is quite literally a drift car. It's extremely fast, but you will drift the car anytime you take a turn. This could be a bad thing, but once you get used to it, the car is actually very easy to control. This makes it extremely useful for getting around the city, and is simply just fun to aimlessly drive while listening to body heat radio. You can get this car by going to this location in Watson, and the car should be inside one of the warehouses. You'll have to find the keys to the car, which are just in a crate to the side under some rubble, but after that, you just need to get in the car and it's yours to keep forever. The next Type 66 is the best version of the car out there, and that is the Type 66 Cthulhu. Obtaining this car takes quite a lot of effort. First, you'll have to get a call from Claire, the bartender with a hormonal imbalance from the afterlife. She wants you to be her driver for a selection of street races, or rather, American street races, because they use guns. You'll have to place top 3 in at least 2 of them to make it to the final race, but towards the end of the 3rd race, Claire will tell you that she doesn't actually want to win. She just wants to murder a random corpo named Samson because her husband died by the rules of the death race that he willingly signed up for. Now you'll have to make all of the right dialogue choices in order to convince Claire not to kill Samson. Then during the final race, when Samson loses control, then once again you have to make the correct choices to convince Claire to spare him. A few days after the quest is finished, Samson will message you and thank you for saving his life, and then leave his car in your possession. This can sometimes be a little buggy, causing Claire to kill him despite making all the correct choices, but if this happened, no need to worry. You can still obtain the car a few days after the quest is finished, as the car will be salvaged and put up for sale. But as long as you don't actually finish the race, you'll be able to obtain this car. With all of that being said, the car is definitely worth the hassle. It's the perfect balance between speed and handling. It's even more fun to aimlessly drive around than the Type 66 Hoon. It also just looks extremely cool. If it wasn't for the fact that you'd have to spend an entire hour on a quest line in order to obtain it, it would probably be on the top of this list. Speaking of spending an entire quest line in order to obtain a vehicle, the Outlaw Weiler is probably much more tedious to obtain. So you may be wondering why it's higher than the Type 66 Cthulhu. Well, it may be a recency bias, but the Outlaw Weiler is a pitch black spy car with machine guns attached to the front. Enough said. Okay, I'm kidding. It's also extremely fast and can make turns like a beast. However, obtaining this vehicle may turn you off completely. You'll first need the Phantom Liberty DLC. Then you'll have to steal and deliver a total of 7 marked cars for El Capitan. These vehicles spawn completely at random, and typically when you are in the middle of doing something else, and you have to do it 7 times. Once you deliver 7 of them, you'll get a side quest that I believe is time sensitive to steal an Arasaka medical truck. Assuming you don't end up driving the truck into the ocean, and you deliver it to El Capitan's garage, he will reward you with the Outlaw Weiler. Now, obtaining this car isn't as bad as I'm making it out to be. The car is pretty much flawless and deserves to be in the number 1 spot. But there's one more vehicle that's better than all the rest, for no particular reason other than my own personal bias. The Mackinac Demiurge is the only monster truck in the entire game. It's a monster truck. What more do I need to say? Alright, you're probably wondering how to obtain it. This vehicle is a very interesting unlock, but fortunately, most of your effort is just going to be patience, as you will need to AFK for this. First, you'll need to make your way to this area of the Badlands at around 4 or 5 AM. Then you'll need to make sure your car is parked fairly far away, or the event won't trigger for some whatever reason, but you'll need to search for a mattress on this hill. It can be quite a pain to find. but you'll have to run around and look for it. Once you find it, you'll have to AFK for about 7 minutes. Then your character will begin to cough and pass out. You'll wake up to find the Mackinac Demiurge monster truck waiting for you, along with what seems to be a megascope setup from The Witcher 3. Now this vehicle is really slow, but you can drive it over pretty much any surface, and completely trample every other car on the road. I always found monster trucks to be really cool, so that alone is why this is the #1 vehicle in Cyberpunk. Anyways, that was my list for the top 10 vehicles in Cyberpunk. Remember to let me know which vehicles are your favorite down in the comments, and if you want to see more Cyberpunk and other RPG related content, then feel free to subscribe so you don't miss the next video.